reason boundaries always work is because when we are clear with how we want to be treated in a relationship, the other person has a choice. Like, they can accept that, they can disrespect that, they can blow up about it, they can melt down about it. So if I'm trying to work this out with my adult child who's still living with me and they're 30 years old or whatever, if that is a toxic interaction, we can say, hey, I'm not going to keep playing my part in this toxic interaction. It needs to change. I'm willing to do A, B, and C. I'm not willing to listen to you when you're cussing at me, when you're being explosive. So when that happens, I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to leave the house. I'm going to disengage for a while. And so you're presenting the boundary, right? And then the other person can say, okay, well, that makes sense. I will honor that boundary. Or, no, you're always trying to control me. Forget it. I can do what I want. They're just spinning out. That gives that person the information they need. Okay, I don't get to exist in this relationship, apparently. And so when that dynamic happens, if the parent can stay in their own truth and stay in their own strength, but not blow up and engage with them, oftentimes the adult child kind of comes around, and it might not happen for a day, a week, a month, a year, but eventually they recognize that my parent is being reasonable, I'm not, and I want to be back in relationship, and then they come around to accepting those boundaries.
That's interesting. So when I spoke earlier about the act of containment, it's so different than what you're describing, Shannon. And that's why I'm so interested in the way you describe boundaries, because the work that I'm always aiming to do is get people together, So I use this metaphor, and I think it's pretty close to what you're describing, which is the hot potato, right? And you may have heard this before, but if your adult child hands you a hot potato, right, and they kind of shove it on you, which is like what we call projection, what do you do with that? So then you have to make a choice. Like, do I shove it back? Do I hold it? Do I throw it away? Do I walk away? If the parent is in a position to consider this, is to hold the hot potato, to cool it down, and then give it back to the child in a way that's more digestible. In other words, in a way that they can actually take it in, they can eat it, which is what we call internalization in my field. So the work then is very different, right, Shannon, than what you're describing. And I appreciate, that's why I'm so happy we're doing this deeper dive into boundaries, because I'm trying to understand. Sometimes people say boundaries don't work. And I hear that as well. Like, I do create a boundary, but it doesn't work. They keep coming at me. And what I try to do then is to help them, if the parent is in a regulated state of mind and able to do this. And I agree with you. It's not their responsibility. But many people who are in these relationships, it's, even if we expand it, with a loved one who they don't want to lose, or at least they want to know they've done the most they could. Like, have I done as much as I can before I create this boundary or walk away or go no contact? Someone used that word with me just the other day. Their adult child went no contact, and the parent is devastated. Yeah. So can you hold the potato, digest, cool it down, and then give it back, which goes back to what you and I just said earlier, which is then using verbal language, helping your child get into a more regulated state of mind, so that then you can begin to connect and work on whatever the problem is together in a more collaborative way.